IELTS with Coach Brad. Listening, Task 3. You are now going to hear a voicemail message left by a professor to one of his students. Please take some time to read questions 1 to 4.
When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Oh yes, hi Jim, it's Professor Steinberg here. I was hoping I could speak to you over the phone about your presentation, but it seems like you're unavailable. I guess a voicemail will have to do. You'll need to call me back if you have any questions. So, I've had some time to read through the draft of your group's presentation on commercial VR technology, and I must say, it's clear that you have put a lot of work into it. I am confident you will do well, but that doesn't mean there aren't some areas for improvement. So I'll quickly run through my main concerns about the presentation as a whole, while also mentioning what I liked and didn't like from each of your group mates section of the presentation. Jim, let's start with you. As the team leader, I think it's great that you are opening the presentation. A simple welcoming of the audience you have planned is nice, but it lacks a little bit of the wow factor. This is a crucial part of the presentation because it's when you need to capture the audience's attention. I went to a VR conference in the past and they simply gave out a brochure that accompanied a video showing the history of VR while everyone was finding their seats. It really lacked imagination and the whole thing felt flat. Why don't you borrow one of the VR headsets from the media room and give a quick display on how they are used? I'm sure it will make a great first impression. Okay, moving on to the introduction. I like your use of bullet points as it keeps things clear and organised. You also managed to avoid much of the technical language that most of the audience probably wouldn't understand. But your presentation focuses on commercial VR technology and it doesn't specifically state that. As you know, VR technology is used in many industries and we don't want the audience to be confused about the precise types of VR you will be focusing on. Next, I really enjoyed the video that you have included to show the Sega Mega Drive's VR headset. But my problem is that it doesn't accurately demonstrate the audio capabilities of the device. The way it shows the screens it uses is clear and the way it explains the head tracking technology is fine, but there is so much talking and background music during the clip that we don't get a sense of just how primitive the system's sound was for the user. But the biggest concern I have is the part about the Oculus Rift. If there's one thing I know about audiences at technology presentations, is that any talk of the laws within the industry will put them to sleep. It's not relevant to your topic, so it would be best to remove it. Keep focusing on how the Oculus Rift has built on previous generations of VR because that's what truly matters most. Okay, so that gets my main concerns out of the way. That is the end of questions 1 to 4. You now have some time to check your answers and read questions 5 to 10. Let's keep things moving because I have a meeting soon. I thought I'd give a little bit of advice to each of your group mates and maybe you can pass it on to them. I'll start with you, Jim. Your opening. You wanted to keep it short and to the point. I can see that you have prepared 6 or 7 slides and I imagine that each one will take about a minute to present. That's far too long, so see if you can condense it down to 3 or 4 slides and move things along a little bit quicker to the next speaker.
I'm talking about Candice.
And to be honest, she seems a little bit all over the place. There's no logic behind the order of her main points. For example, She starts with a case study before she gives any background information on the topic, which makes it hard to follow. Her material is good, but I suggest she changes a few things around so that it's better sequenced. Now for some feedback for Angela. She provides some informative statistics in the form of a useful bar chart, which really supports the main points she discusses throughout her section. My only concern is that I don't know exactly where she got her data from. This leaves me wondering how reliable her numbers really are and if I can even trust their accuracy. So be sure to include the details of the publication that produced the charts. As for Speaker 4, Joy, I thought she prepared for her section well. She briefly mentioned some very interesting points on VR projects we can expect to see in the future. I understand it isn't the main focus of her section, but I am sure it is likely to arouse the interest of those in the audience, and they would definitely appreciate getting some advice about where they can read more details on these projects themselves after the presentation is finished. Next up is DeAndre's section, and well, I wasn't overly impressed with his discussion on the topic of health and safety aspects of virtual reality. In fact, he appears to be the weakest link on the team, and you need to tell him to improve his efforts. In particular, the topic of motion sickness is a very real challenge for the VR industry, and he only speaks about it for one bullet point. I'd like to see much more time dedicated to this very important topic. At least 3 or 4 minutes. Otherwise, he might be responsible for bringing down the whole team's score. And lastly is Nish. As the final speaker, I think it's great that she's so confident giving her own opinions and offering recommendations for areas of future research. Perhaps allowing a quick question and answer session with the audience might also be a good idea. I think we have time, so go for it. I also love the brochure that the group is handing out upon completion of the presentation, which summarizes the main points. So that's all the feedback I have for now. I hope your group is able to use it to really improve the overall quality of your presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop by my office for a consultation. If not, I'll see you at class next week. Goodbye. That is the end of Speaking Task 3. You now have some time to check your answers.